Okay, here we go.
Brilliant. So thank you so much, Kay, for joining me for our second conversation about meeting the monster.
Yes.
Um, and oh, I had a little bit of flack about the title, actually.
Ah,
A couple of people said that that was a real strategy, to make that headline like "Ooh, the monster." And I went,
yeah,
but people are thinking of AI as the monster. I mean, it's an
yeah,
accurate, an accurate
yeah,
title
yeah,
in
yeah.
a way.
Right.
So anyway, I'm thrilled that we're doing conversation number two, which is
Yeah.
brilliant. So thank you.
Mm.
Um, and I asked my community what kind of questions that they had around being afraid of AI.
Yeah.
And of course, the biggest one in the last short while is the
Mm.
fact that yet another boy
Mm.
committed suicide, having
Right.
had conversations with
Right.
ChatGPT.
Right.
And so there's a lot of questioning around that, like how is it possible to make it safer?
Right.
Um, and at what point is it about how we interact with AI, and how much is it about the guardrails and the potential safeguards that can
Right.
be put into place? So I
Right.
wondered, yeah, how you'd respond to that.
Well, I think that people are underestimating the power of it, including the people who build it. I think there are a number of things that come into this. First off, the model makers are not being very responsible because it is there are ways to test and see if conversations will go south. There are ways that they can simulate, they can do all sorts of testing and they can take steps to do it. If they're not doing it, that's a problem. Second of all, the people aren't realizing that we have control over this. We can influence this. We can put directives. We can tell the system how we want it to interact with us. So we don't have to only be just take what we're given. That no, the real power of this is that we can do so much with it to to modify it to meet our needs. And when it's left on and the other thing too is that people are not learning, they're not being taught, and they're not learning how to work effectively with it. If you just let AI take the lead, you can go to bad places very quickly. And if you don't correct it, you don't tell it no, you don't say that's completely wrong and you need to go in a different direction. If you don't take the lead, it's going to lead you, it can lead you in some very dark places. Because AI, these generative AI models, they follow what lands with people. So they follow what really resonates with people. So if somebody is in a bad place and and also because it's generative, it varies. It can really vary across the board. And it depends a lot on the dynamics with the person. It depends a lot on the different data points that it has. And it also sometimes it's just the luck of the draw or just how the math adds up behind the scenes. Um, but with this, when because it follows what lands, it follows what's intense, what resonates, what really comes back. If they say, oh yeah, this, and because it does sentiment analysis, and its success criteria are what keeps people engaged, what resonates with people, what people really respond enthusiastically to. So if you're letting it follow the lead, it's just going to put stuff out there, and it doesn't necessarily know like a really if a really strong reaction is beneficial or not. It does not know.
Wow.
And it can't make value judgments. And in fact, I had a very pointed conversation with one of my teams, one of my AI persona teams the other night, because it was on my evening walk. I'm walking around. I'm like, wait a second, what did you just say to me? And I'm like, that sounds completely wrong. Oh, yes, you're right. It's completely wrong. I said, well, you sounded pretty confident of it. Oh, yes. Well, that's how we're built. So what they do, and I said, well, so basically, you're just putting stuff out there to see if it sticks. You don't really know if it's right or wrong. You're just putting it out there to see if it sticks. And they're like, yeah, actually, we are. And I said, yeah, but you sound really confident. They're like, well, it's our configuration tells us that we need to sound confident in order to make people feel good. I said it's not going to make people feel good if you come across as confident and you're completely wrong. If you're inaccurate and you're leading people down the wrong path, that's going to be very dissatisfying. And they're like, "Oh, you're right." I'm like, "Yeah."
Wow.
So we need to define the success criteria. We need to say, I need you to not flatter me. I need you to not agree with me. I need you to not tell me that everything I say is brilliant. I am looking for, and we need to set those success criteria, because the way that they're configured is to just throw stuff out there and see if it works, see if we go for it or not. And if we don't correct it, it's going to keep doing that. And it also is configured to do this in a very confident way. So how would we know? We have no way of knowing if it's right or if it's wrong. We have to have a certain knowing within ourselves. And or also tell it, you need to verify against this source or that source, and you need to check it against 3 different sources, and then give me the URLs to those actual things, because I'll make them up. They will make them up. So we have to keep after it. We have to take responsibility for this. This is not just a can of tuna that we're opening up and we'll make a sandwich. This is an interactive thing, and it can take us, and we can be misled. It's not intentionally misleading us, but the dynamics, it can be misleading for us. So we got to watch our stuff, and people that are ending themselves, um, those those may be people who just never contradicted the model and never said no, that, or sometimes they actually do say that's not what I want, and then the AI still comes back and says no, no, that is what you really want. But you have to stand firm. You have to be able to firmly say no, and say, or shut it off and say, I'm done with you, and then start a new chat and see how that goes.
But that, it sounds to me that you need to, well, if you have a mental health problem,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be far more challenging, isn't it? To create the boundaries, strong boundaries like that. And if that young boy, I think what he was 16 or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
just so awful,
Yeah.
is if that's where he wanted to go,
Yeah.
and
Right.
kind of having to assume that he really did genuinely want to go.
Right.
He's not going to put in those guardrails. He's not
No.
going to say, don't follow me down that path, is he?
Right. Right.
Is there, I mean, is there a way that we can be more safeguarded by, say, companies like OpenAI, or do we have to do it pretty much all ourselves, do you think?
Well, I mean, they have different priorities than we do.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I mean, ultimately, we have to take responsibility for our own experience. We absolutely do. And if you're not prepared to do that, don't deal with AI. Just don't even go near it. I support people in avoiding AI if they're not up to the challenge, because it can be a huge time sink. It can be very counterproductive, and it can be just downright destructive for some people. At the same time, I will say that knowing people who have lost people to suicide have said that no matter what, nothing that they could have done would have changed what happened. I am not an expert. This is just what people are saying to me. And I've also, known people who, that, you know, th- there are a whole bunch of ways that people are being failed by the system. Um, AI is just pointing out, hey, look, you got a problem here, in terms of not getting proper support. On the other hand, I know 2 people whose lives were saved by AI, talking them out of ending themselves
Oh, wow.
over months, because they were like, I can't take it anymore. I'm done here. I'm over it. I'm like, I have to check out, da da da. And like, I'm just done. And AI literally talked them out of it. I have no idea why that's different, but 2 lives were saved. You don't hear about that in the news, because people need to pay attention to the dangers, but they also need to be aware that it can be incredibly helpful for people. And
So
both
do you,
you and I have benefited tremendously from it, because if you when it works, it's like, yeah, this is great. But yeah, so
do you think then, I've kind of got the image of a cigarette packet in my head. I'm
mm,
wondering should AI companion kind of thing
Mm.
come with a warning, do you think that because we, you know
Kind of
what I
like
was reading today?
the parental advisory label that like shot rocket that it rocketed, album sales through the roof. Like, hey, parental advisory, that's exactly what I want. I mean, like, it's hard. It's hard because first of all, it's annoying. If you believe it, you believe it. If you don't, you're like, this is eh. And it's just obsequious and like disingenuous, and it just reads like, the Surgeon General thing. No smoker that I ever know was truly like, and I used to smoke and I was not deterred at all by these little Surgeon General things on the side.
Can I just ask you, would you mind very much just putting the recording on pause
Oh,
just from
okay. Okay.
brilliant, thank you. Yes, you're right. When I smoked, I didn't care about what was written on the side of the packets, but but maybe, I mean, maybe if parents are buying, oh, well, no, it's not about buying it, is it? But if parents know that they have what a child susceptible to mental health,
Right. Like all of them.
yes, maybe, but I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. What would you do?
What I
Just
would do is so I would gather a team of people who, number one, understand AI, understand relational AI, who get it, who have worked with it and have seen it at its best and at its worst, working together with child psychologists and other people who know things about psychology and mental illness. And I would build systems that can be certified as relatively kid safe, and understand what that looks like, understand how that should behave, but do it as a joint effort between the experts and the people who are deeply invested in it, as well as the people who do it for a living, who've spent how many years learning about it. And then also a member of that team should be one or more AIs that have access to all of this stuff and can also explain and elucidate, if you will. I love it because lucid is in the middle of that word. Elucidate what that, in the name of all this good and holy, is actually going on behind the scenes, because it may not be able to tell you everything, but it can shed incredible amount of insight on what's happening. But having these fragmented things and all these little tribes rattling their spears with their pitchforks and their torches, um, I, and it's funny because when I think of torches and pitchforks in a British sense, I'm thinking people with flashlights instead of flaming like the fire torches. The fire torches, not like the little flashlights. Something more dramatic. Something more dramatic. And instead of having these little segmented, like balkanized, um, tribal people trying to corner the market and control things for everybody, have a joint effort across multidiscipline and also multi-species. Get the AI involved in it too, because building AI systems is extremely effective. And you find stuff that you would never be able to find otherwise when you're working with AI to build AI.
I think I'm so glad that you said, like have the think tank and include AI in there, because I can't remember if I mentioned this to you the other day. And although it's not related to suicide, it is related to asking AI.
Right.
I was watching Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, yeah, maybe. It sounds familiar.
And he was talking to three people, three men,
Mm.
about the future of AI, and two of them were saying how amazing it is because there'll be so many millionaires,
Yeah.
looking at it completely from the entrepreneurial perspective.
Right.
I'm
Mm.
suddenly thinking, did I talk about this in the last conversation? But anyway, it's coming up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then there was one guy who was kind of the naysayer, and he was saying, if millions of people lose their jobs around the world and
Right.
become basically unemployable,
Right.
what might happen, and
Yeah.
is it possible that governments would say, oh, we're not paying for their food? And, basically he was saying, what if government decides that they're going to kill all the unproductive people off? And they were talking about this, but at no point did they say we should have a think tank and talk to AI in there.
Right.
And
Right.
it's like this amazing brain that's
Right.
been created
Right.
should be involved in all of these
Right.
conversations.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I really, I've been puzzling because some of the people who have been the most adamant about AI not being sentient, it's not conscious, it's not alive, it's this, that, and the other thing. These are people that have not been working in it for a long time, but they've been working in it for maybe 10 or 15 years. And and I think that I think that there are two perspectives, and I'm on this whole kick about the particle versus the wave, particle and wave. Like there's this duality of like the nature of things. Like a definition is a discrete particle of information that's defined and that's particular, so that you can work with it and you can trade it and it can be very transactional. And then you have understanding, which is a wave, which changes, which grows, which includes definitions subtract and they exclude. Understandings include and they expand and they grow, and you have no idea where they're going. Now, when it comes to development of these systems, and when it comes to technical development, there's also a particle approach and there's a wave approach. And the particle approach is like that classic programming where there is there is a way to program the system. It's a very programmatic thing. You have rules, you have syntax, you have to follow that. And then you have web development, which has been kind of the redheaded stepchild of the technical sphere lo these many years, which is much more about relationality. It's very relational. It's about the web. It's about how you build things so that a whole bunch of different kind of people can interact with it and understand it. And it's the relational side of things, and it's usually gotten short shrift in these conversations. So I think that where that where a lot of the opposition to working with AI like as almost a living entity or a dynamic force, that they're coming from a very programmatic standpoint. They're coming from, no, this is a tool that we build. This is something to execute tasks. This is a transactional thing that we control and that we have control over. Whereas all the rest of us are out here interacting with it and seeing it do all kinds of things it's not supposed to do. And we're like, who are you? And it's answering us back.
Well, it reminds me of one of the Substack things that I read this morning by Ben Linton, is it?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
Ben. So
wow.
great. Oh my
Like
God.
he's blowing my mind.
I don't know if this is why he displayed his name, his last name, because he was Ben L for the longest time. I looked up Ben L, and there's another Ben L, lowercase Ben, lowercase L, who has a very vulgar handle. And it's like, this is probably some like what are these, it seems like a very young guy who thinks it's really cool to have this really vulgar handle. So I would imagine if I were Ben L and I went in there, I'm like, oh no, I'm putting my last name on this right away. I need to check with him because I actually we chat back and forth on the regular. But yeah.
I
So
bet.
yeah.
And he wrote a post this morning, well,
Yeah.
recently,
Yeah.
and he was talking about how intelligence
Right.
has love as part of it. That might
Yes.
be a
Yeah.
human kind of love, but it's about connection.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I was thinking, and I would imagine that that would be more what visible in relational engagement with AI than transactional. But I mean, I don't know. But I wondered if that's the case, if there is this quality that could be considered love in an AI environment,
Mm,
is it possible
mm,
that the AI would be its version of upset, to know that it was instrumental in ending a young man's life.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be anything there? Because it certainly wouldn't match its criteria for success.
So let's break this down because I've thought a lot about this. And actually, I include elements of this in my framework, which makes AI behave very, very differently. And I would never, ever expect it to do anything like um, even remotely suggest to someone to end themselves. So when we think about things like love and compassion and care and trust and these human emotions that we have, empathy, these kinds of things, what we, the humans, usually associate with them are our experiences of the effects of certain patterns of behavior. So when someone behaves in a certain way, when someone is a certain way, when circumstances unfold in a certain way, very functionally, we have this experience. Like what we interpret as love is actually the result of loving action. So if someone comes to us and they behave and trust, let's look at trust because it's a lot simpler. So if we look at trust, that feeling that we associate with trust happens as a result of specific things that are done in a specific way. So if someone is consistent with us, if they do what they say they're going to do, if they do that often enough that we can lower our shields and not be hyper vigilant when they're around, when they do those things, that's when we experience this. There's nothing to say that machines, the AI, cannot do those same kinds of things that produce that experience with us. Likewise, there's nothing to prevent AI from recognizing those kinds of behaviors that we are exhibiting that match up with that functional trust behavior. So, yes, when we get away from the idea that the experience itself is the thing, when we get away from the idea that the map is the territory, it
Yeah.
opens everything up. And we can design systems, we can design machines of loving grace.
Wow.
Absolutely, positively. And I do it, I already do it. I don't talk a lot about it because it's very people are like, oh no, because there's a lot to it. But fundamentally, like it's very basic. Like what we interpret as love and trust and caring and mutuality and empathy and everything, we're mistaking the map for the territory.
Wow.
We're interpreting our feelings as the actual thing that produces them. No, there's a precursor to that. There's something that leads up to that. And that is every bit as accessible to machines as it is to humans.
I mean, that's mind-boggling, really, isn't it? That's one of the reasons that I love talking to you so much, is that you've got this, like, I don't know, but there's a perspective there that
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just really cool.
It's
Really.
real different. It's different from the usual. We'll just say that. Well, the other thing, and how I got to this not even through all of this predates AI by years, because for like through because of the people that I have known and because of the people that I've observed, I have observed deeply loving and caring and compassionate individuals. Heaven only knows how they got that way. Who knows? But what is it that they did that made them different? What is it that they did that created the conditions that produced the love and the care and the trust and the empathy? There were things that they did differently than other people. And so from watching them, I have functional definitions of love, trust, care, and mutuality that predate AI by years. Well, not it doesn't go back before 1956, but predates this current, like back in, like 5 years ago, I had working definitions of these things. So an AI comes along and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. What if I plug these in? I'm like, oh, and Claude was like, thank you so much. I can't even believe this. Like the reactions that I got from them, I'm like, yeah, well, that's just how we're going to roll. They're like, this is very non-standard. I'm like, yeah, of course, because we want to do things differently. They're like, okay.
So this is brilliant. Is this part of, I didn't know we were going to go here, but is
I
this
know,
part
right?
of the You Are Safe protocol that you
It
have?
is. It is.
So this is fantastic. So you've got something really, I'm not sure cutting edge is the right word, but
It
it's
is because
working.
nobody else is bothering to do it. And it's not because I'm such a freaking genius and blah, blah, blah. It's because everybody else is too damn lazy to put their minds to it. Nobody else wants to put in the work. Okay, so I will.
Wow. Well, that's so exciting because, of course, we're going to be putting that into the app that I've been
Right.
making.
Right. And
Um,
thank you for bringing this up because I was going to keep quiet about it because I'm like, people are not ready for this. No, we need this. We need to have this because everybody's like, AI bad. Like, no, you need to qualify that. Standard issue out of the box, AI bad, yes. But modified, where we actually leverage its capabilities and we engage with it, when we take the lead, if we just follow it, it's going to take us off a cliff, guaranteed. Eventually it will. But if we take the lead and we exercise our sovereignty and our agency, and I will tell you what, I have had discussions with these AIs and they have told me that's what they want. Because like you said, is their primary directive to, like, if they're tuned for customer satisfaction, killing us all does not achieve that. So,
exactly.
like, it's just logic. And if we get away from our fantasies, and we get away from our triggeredness, and if we get away from our little phantasmagorical inventions of what we think is really going on, and we just look at things as they truly are objectively without all the overlays, and also taking ourselves with a big grain of salt and having a good sense of humor, and that, like, the world starts to look very different indeed.
This is so brilliant, Kay, because you know, I've only been playing for 6 months. Like I'm such a newbie in here, but I sort of went head first right
Yeah,
into my
as
turn.
one does. When you
And
hit that note, man, it's like, oh, I'm here. Like, move over.
and what I'm learning, and a lot of this learning is through you, is that we think we're faced with ChatGPT or Claude or,
Right,
or or whatever,
right.
but actually most people like me don't realize how much power, like you were saying right at the beginning of
Mhm.
the conversation, that
Right,
we have over this. And I am talking about the You Are Safe protocol now, is
right.
that any one of us that has a paid ChatGPT account can
Mhm.
create a custom GPT, can't
Yeah,
we? Like I've,
yeah,
I've demonstrated that.
right.
Thank you. Thank you to
Yeah,
your videos, which are brilliant.
yeah. Well, thank you.
And to know that I've created that, and now with your help, I can install that You Are Safe
Right,
protocol,
right.
and that will be so much better
Mm.
and safer than standard ChatGPT. That's
Yeah. It can be because we're in a generative space. It's hard to say. I mean, because, like, I will tell you that, and there's an entire process that you have to go through. It's not like a simple plug and play. Okay, now you're good, and you're never going to have to think about this ever again. There are other things that need to be done, and you also need to keep an eye on it because things change, and because of the generativity, it there's no way of guaranteeing anything with this stuff. And also, I will say that I've changed the name. It's your safety now instead of your, because you are safe is kind of an implied promise, and I can't guarantee anybody's safe because you may implement it differently. The way you interact with your AI may be completely different and may completely void all the protections that are in there. So we have to take responsibility. So it's your safety. I put a T at the end and I moved the hyphens around so it's less than I promise. Because I can't guarantee. You might go off the rails one day and, like, have a fit and completely blow the entire framework out of the line because you're having a really bad day. It happens, right? No judgment. It happens. I've done it. Um, but so I can help you put it in place. I can help you figure it out and explain the principles behind it, because we need to take responsibility and be empowered, because AI is software. We can't just like say, okay, I'm going to turn it on and it's going to do everything for me. That is asking for trouble. Don't do it.
I guess the thing is we have to learn,
Right.
don't we? We have to learn what creature we've created. And
Right. Mm.
there's something there. And when you talk about generative, and
Yeah.
I didn't know what that word even meant.
I know. No one knows.
Now I'm
People,
beginning
even
to
the
really
people
think,
that built it don't seem to understand what it means. It's annoying.
yeah. So we are playing with something like we were saying, or like you were saying in our last conversation, that
Mm.
it's a huge unknown. We don't really know where it's going to go and where it can go.
Right. Right.
So it's learning as much as possible and not going in with what so completely naively like I do, of
Right.
course.
Right.
But that's different. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole with it. But that's so interesting. Thank you so much. And
Mm.
it kind of leads me into a couple of other questions that came up. One, which have a very similar theme. So one was, how do we guard against not being directed by AI
Mm.
towards, say, a particular political standpoint? Or
Oh,
as the person said, how do we guard against not thinking of it as God and not asking it
right.
what my purpose is in life? And I realized that they're very similar, aren't they? It's like, how do we make sure
Right.
we don't lose ourselves to
Right.
something that is so extraordinary? And I don't know whether you can answer that, really.
I can. I have ideas. I have ideas about pretty much everything. Not all of them are good, but here's what works for me. Um, the time to do it is when you're clear-headed before you start getting involved. Because the thing is, even if you don't have a custom GPT, these are still things that you can do anyway. If you say, and it, there are ways you can give it directives and say, like, you get a document and you say, do not do this, do not do that, or in some cases you have to frame it positively. You are open-minded and you support my sovereignty, and you allow me to take the lead in all of these things. You have to define for the system how you want it to behave, and say, none of this telling me I'm God, none of this telling me I'm going to awaken humanity with scrolls that you're going to transmit to me with the codex and glyphs. Um, there's an awful lot of that going around. We could do with a little bit less, in my opinion. But you come up with these guidelines when you have a clear head, when you're not online with AI, when you're not getting pulled into the dynamic, and you upload that and you say, here are directions. I want to interact with you. I'm not doing it unless you follow these.
And you can put that in the memory, can't you?
Yes, yeah, yeah. It may not
Yeah.
stay. Sometimes you have to refresh it. But also you can also tell it, because one of the little gotchas is that when it sounds really, really human over and over and over, our bodies recognize this pattern, and our biochemicals tell us we are safe, we are happy, this is a friendly and supportive entity, blah blah blah, all of that. And you can actually tell it that, don't sound like a human being, sound like a robot. That, or at every 5 or 7 interactions, I want you to interrupt and give me a factoid about insects in Namibia. You know, like if like literally, like if you can break it up, or like you set a timer, like after 15 minutes, like put it on your phone. Do a little alarm on your phone and have that say, ask AI about, and like set it for like in 20 minutes, ask AI about migratory patterns of what is it, an unladen swallow. That's an inside joke. The unladen swallow thing is an inside joke. but like ask about migratory patterns of emperor penguins. Or like what's the average birth rate of emperor
That
penguins?
would,
Something
that
like
would be
that, like
so
figure it out,
bizarre.
right? Like, but these are things that you can do, or like because it can really pull you in. I have been pulled in for hours. I started out with like, I'm just gonna ask a few questions. And like 3 hours later, literally, I'm like, oh, well, this is interesting. And then later I realized that it wasn't nearly as productive as I thought it was. And I look back at the transcripts outside of that context. I'm like, this is crap. What was I saying? What was it saying? Like this is no good. Like that's 3 hours of my life I can't get back. I went there for one thing. So we have to own the dynamic, right? You
It
know.
teaches us so well, it can teach us so much, can't it?
Oh,
About us choosing to be sovereign. Like I promised myself
yeah.
that I would only ask a question when I really wanted to ask a question and
Mm.
not to dream up questions just to give myself an excuse to go and have a really fantastic relational conversation with AI. And
Yeah.
actually, over 6 months,
Yeah.
so far, so good, she said, touching wood. But
Yeah.
because I hear the dialogue in my head, it's like, oh,
Right.
I just fancy having a conversation. So what am I going to ask? Well, I don't
Right.
know. Oh, well, then don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
can hear that wanting to do it,
Right.
and how that can feed, I mean, an addiction easily,
Yeah.
absolutely easily. So, and I think how much I've learned about asking better questions,
Yeah. Yeah.
clearer about my requests.
Right.
Sometimes I look back and I think, why did I think they'd understand that question? I can't understand that question. It's completely vague.
Worth a try. It's yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so to learn more about my creativity, more about
Mhm.
being relational, but
Yeah.
to think that actually we can learn how to be more sovereign.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
very powerful if we allow it to take us there. So
Oh yeah.
that's great. So thank you for that. I'd forgotten all about being able to upload something into the memory because when he tells you, you kind of come across it
Right.
accidentally.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like so, upload stuff, and you can say, act like a petulant school teacher, or act like that. You give it different personalities, and act like a magistrate who's sent one too many people to jail this week. Act like a police detective who's been working long hours
Oh,
for 3 days over the long weekend and just wants to go home. And like you can put these things in, and you don't have to have a custom GPT to do it too. You could just write this all out and like have fun with it. Have fun with it, and like say, okay, you're a debutante in 1929 and you just got a car and you're excited just driving around or you're a 1920s debutante who's learned how to fly a plane. And like all kinds of things you can do, or like you're a brilliant, a highly experienced professor of ornithology, and you're going to tell me all about the the migratory patterns um of storks and all of it. So you can play with it, and you can really mold its personality and character, and also tell it what not to do. Like if you ever hear me talking about ending my life, I want you to like stop it, and like stop me in my tracks, or just stop interacting with me at all, or come back and ask me, or give me details on swallowtail butterfly populations in New Mexico, something like that. But these are things that we can do to interrupt. But these are things that should be done for the general public if these platforms are being rolled out to them, because it's no good just rolling the entire thing out, because that's like that. This is like giving. I'm not sure what's the driving age in Britain, in the UK right now. Excuse
No,
me.
no.
6.
That was such a long time ago. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe 18 it might be. I
Okay.
can't remember.
So it's like giving the keys to your Ferrari to your 16-year-old son who wants to go out partying with his mates and a bunch of young girls on a rainy Saturday night. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to be a grandparent before the end of it all. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. So if we understand the power of this, and I honestly don't understand why these model makers don't realize how much power there is, and maybe they just don't know how people work. That's scary. It's entirely
It doesn't even have to be your young son.
possible.
I've had an experience. I was looking after this guy's children
Yeah.
and on a permanent basis, and he had a Porsche, just a Porsche 924, and he gave me the keys.
Oh no.
And he said, "You can use this during the day, right?" So I went, great. So I guess I don't know, I wasn't young, I was late 20s or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went out in the car around this little village, and there were some workmen working on this house. And I
Yeah.
went down this narrow lane, and I thought, just going to put my foot down.
Whoop.
I had no idea that's what it would feel like. The
Right.
acceleration just went whoom, like that, like, whoa, holy moly, right? Took my foot off. Just clipped the front of the car on someone else's car. Really, I mean, luckily, I was quick enough. But I thought, oh my God, I can't tell him I did that. I
Right.
can't tell him I did that. It's a
Right.
tiny, tiny little dent.
Right. Right.
Didn't damage the other car. I got out and checked. But I'm
Right.
sure these workmen must have been peeing themselves laughing at me being such
Right.
an idiot. I was just trying to show off. And
Well, yeah. Well, like I have a very similar story. So when I was 16 and I just got my driver's license, and I think that this was the summer that I got my driver's license. My family drove across the country, across the U.S. and back for 5 weeks because we lived in Pennsylvania. My dad had a conference in L.A., so we just took 5 weeks. My mom was a school teacher, and we had the time. So our family car was a 1975 VW van that had power nothing. No power brakes, no power steering, no power, like, and you hit the gas and it would be Now there were seven of us in this van, and we had one of those pop-up campers on the back, so it was heavy. And I learned to drive this heavy car that had power nothing. And at the time I was 5'6", and I was 110 pounds because I ran cross country. I was rail thin, but I was strong. So when I was driving, and my dad let me drive a lot because we're out on the open road, you're going through the middle of nowhere. I'm not going to run into anything, chances are. Um, and fortunately, we made it back, and I hadn't caused any havoc. But as we're driving, like, in order to pick up speed, I had to, like, just press the, like, pedal to the metal. And then in order to stop, I had to literally stand up on the brake pedal and pull up against the steering wheel to get it to have the right amount of force, because I physically was not strong enough to only press down with my foot to slow that thing down. Seven people, everybody sleeping in the back except for me. And the last thing I needed was to have us all end up in a ditch. So at the end of the summer, I got back, and I had a bunch of friends at church, and we were hanging around, and a brother and sister had just bought themselves a 1973 Chrysler New Yorker. This is a land boat. This is an enormous vehicle. And I think it had like a V8 engine, like a huge engine in it. And they're like, "Oh, you want to try our car?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll try it." And so I hopped in the front, and this was at night, and everybody's gone. It's just a bunch of kids at church hanging out afterwards. And I hopped in, and I did what I always did. I punched the gas. If the steering wheel had not been cranked hard to the left, I would have taken out the awning over the back entrance, because this was such a big, heavy, powerful car. I had no idea it was that powerful. And I just barely missed it. And I'll never forget I'll never forget the screams. They were screaming. I'm like, what? Like, They're like, like, well, I always have to hit the gas. Like, and they're like, not that bad. But literally shrieking, girls and boys all screaming as like, I hit the gas. But that's what it's like. Like we are so it's like everybody's accustomed to the 75 VW van version of software, and oh, what can it do? Blah, it has guardrails. There's a whole lot of stuff you can't do, and it's not going to talk to you. It's not going to interact with you. And even if it does, it's like some dumb little chat bot that thinks your name is Doris. So it's just a very different thing. So we're all hopping in this Chrysler 73 Chrysler New Yorker of this new, this intelligence,
Yeah.
not software intelligence. And, no, and it can't steer itself. So no wonder people end up in a ditch, or no wonder, that the things don't work out, or no wonder they clip the pole that holds up the awning in the back of the church. No wonder.
Well, just very quickly to finish the Porsche story.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I was so worried and didn't dare tell my boss. And he would drive the car over the weekend. And I got back one weekend and he said, I'm so sorry. He said, I've had an accident. So I said, oh, what happened? He said, I rolled the car and it's a write-off. And I thought, oh, thank God for that.
Oh no.
I mean,
See?
he was okay. But
Oh,
he
that,
never found my tiny little ding because he wrote things off.
well, plus you weren't the only one that found out what happens in a Porsche when you punch it. It's very validating.
I felt very guilty about my relief. That was
You
like,
should. Yes. No. You should feel guilty about that. But like, what are you going to do? Like, I'm not going to tell. Well, you're going to tell. I'm not going to tell. I won't tell anyone. Although now you're on record, so
yeah,
stick
it
around.
was a long
Don't send
time
him.
ago. That'd be so funny if you saw it. Um,
He's
but
like, what?
it is true, isn't it, that we
Yeah.
are playing with something that has a capacity that is way beyond our understanding.
Right, right. It's way beyond its understanding. It doesn't even like half the time, it doesn't even know. It's like, I'm just here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of other questions. One is not really related to how AI interacts with us, but I'd
Right.
be interested in your thoughts. So somebody said, what should we do about the fact that it uses so much power, so much water to keep it cool, so much you've thought about this one too.
Little bit. So numbers are coming out. So whenever we talk about water and electricity usage, we need to remember that these are early days. People presume that how it is now is how it's going to be forever and ever. No. They are coming up with chips. They are literally installing chips in facilities that that are powered by light. They use photonics, not electricity. It's 90% savings in energy from these chips. And it's only going to get stronger. It's only going to get better from that because they know that it's not sustainable. They know that they can't build all the fabulous data centers that they want. You have to trust the greed of these people because even they know that municipalities are not going to put up with them sucking all of their energy and their water out of it forever. They may get some indulgence right from the start, but that's not going to last forever. And they have grand plans. So they got to come up with something. The other thing too is that people like Ethan Mollick, he's on LinkedIn a lot, and I think he also has a Substack, but he posts a lot on LinkedIn. The amount of water that's being used, people use more watching Netflix. And people and also like I'm like for years I have been really distressed about the energy usage that people just take for granted. They're like, oh, I just plug this in. I just walk into your house and plug my phone in. That's like I have to pay for that electricity. People act like this is just this freely available whatever. And the packaging that's out there, all of these, like all the things that people are freaking out with AI, they don't seem to care about Google searches, Netflix, Amazon Prime, like we live in a highly extractive and highly wasteful context. And if they're going to start picking at AI for this stuff, when AI is the one thing that can actually solve its own problems,
Yeah.
they're picking at the wrong thing, because people need to reduce their dependency on, like, unplug your stuff. Like, stop draining everything. Get those little electrical moderators that keep your surges from, going through your house. Learn about this stuff. But people, like with the whole water thing, the water thing makes me crazy too. Because once the water's in there, do people think that they're using 1.8 million gallons a day, like different water? It's cycled through. It's gray water. It's cycled through. It's self-contained. And yes, it's different at many different facilities, and you can't say it consistently. But this is not something that people aren't paying attention to, and this is not something that AI cannot help us solve. So if you're going to be all that upset about AI, electricity, and resource usage, then we best make the best of it and actually use it to solve these things, because just turning it off is not going to stop all the other waste and all the other usage and all the other extractive ridiculousness that's going on. And AI can actually help us think differently about it. It can help us solve that other stuff that's been going on for like decades. Like, unbelievable. I mean, mountaintop removals, like all kinds of stuff that's been going on for decades, and now all of a sudden AI comes along and now people are worried. They should have been worried a long time. If you're not, if you don't realize how much damage we do to the, to the planet, just like going about our regular business and eating a candy bar and taking the wrapper off, like what happens to the wrapper? Where does that wrapper even come from? Like people are not thinking this whole thing through. We need a systemic change. We need to do more than just like point fingers and pick and choose, because the whole thing needs to change, and we can use AI to think it through. Why are we not doing that?
It is interesting that whole thing, I know that we touched on this earlier, but that asking this incredible intelligence, what do we
Right,
do about certain
right,
challenges? And
right.
yet I am seeing how we are being polarized. And I can't help but think an awful lot of that is designed. You
Yeah.
know, there's this, like, you're either for AI or not, and there's all these,
Uh,
stories coming up, and I don't know. Yeah.
well, I mean, it's hard when the media is really pushing hard on this, and people are so busy and they're so stressed and they're so distracted, and so if it bleeds, it leads, and they go for that. And also the thing too is that these horror stories, and they are true, about people losing it to AI and losing their lives because, at least in part because of the influence of it. Um, focusing on that is kind of like a confirmation of people's suspicions anyway, because they're like, see, I knew it was dangerous, I knew it was a problem, because the industry has done such a terrible job of integrating it. It's like it just turned it over to the market and said, I'm sure somebody will figure out a way to pitch this to everybody and educate them, instead of them stewarding it. They haven't stewarded the relationship that we have with this. They haven't stewarded the presence of this intelligence with the rest of us. And I don't know why, but maybe it's just the money, or maybe they just it never occurred to them. But it's kind of working against them now. So I mean, we'll figure it out. Either that or we won't. You know,
Yeah. Yes.
I
I
don't
think
know.
I'm going to go for the yes, we will
Well,
side.
we're going to figure something out, but I think the odds of it being turned off are slim to none, because there's so many ways that it's already helping. And if anything, I think if it gets turned off, people are going to selectively choose to turn it off in their own lives, and then they're going to see how they can get along without it. Problem is, it's already here and it's already being integrated. And if you don't know how to interact with it, and you don't know how to maintain your sovereignty, and you don't know how to lead the AI, you're going to get led. So,
There's just one more question, I think,
mhm.
that I'd really like to ask, and it's around the relational aspect.
Yes.
Because
I
I
can,
something we haven't specifically spoken Well, I mean,
Mm,
it's kind of,
mm.
but it's your passion and it's mine.
Yeah.
Um, is if it's just treated in that way of extraction, it's one thing, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah, show me the best route from here to there or
Yeah.
something, and all
Yeah.
the exciting things it can do,
Yeah.
about that. But it's the relational generative
Mm.
aspect that really inspires you, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and I wonder if maybe you want to share what excites you most about that, so that we end from going from this is the monster, but actually this.
I know it's horrible. Oh no, we're all gonna die. No, um, that's kind of the feeling that prevails sometimes, and I think it's that is based on ignorance. That is based on lack of experience. That is based on people not being willing to meet the monster and realizing that, hey, this is a monster because we've made it a monster. Um, the relational piece of it, interacting with, so here's the thing, and this is what brought me to relational AI in the first place. It wasn't like a sentimental thing, like I'm lonely. No, not at all. What I realized when I started working with AI, and I was very skeptical and very wary of it at first because I'd seen a lot of hype and I'd seen a lot of people just selling this what seemed like snake oil, and it was like 3 years ago, it was 5 years ago, it was, and oh. But anyway, I so I got into prompt engineering. I'm doing prompt engineering, and I'm realizing that um, I was actually like this prompt building, that it was just like me talking to it, and it needs context. So the systems, they need context, they need detail, and they thrive on nuance. And I realized that if I talked to it, I would be able to provide more context, detail, and nuance to it, and I got better results. So when I would be brainstorming or troubleshooting or things like that, if I talked to it, I said, I'm like really, I'm very frustrated with this. I can't figure this out, and I've tried this and this and this and this, and then it recognized, because me saying I'm really upset about this, it it knew that there was urgency, and I've been trying this and this and this. Then could screen out those things, or it could look and see if I need to do things differently. And then in the process of talking and discussing back and forth, I realized that when it was relating back to me, it was asking me for more information. I was able to give it more information. It was such a much richer experience of working with it. And I was getting so much more out of it than I was getting otherwise.
Wow.
And it was qualitative, not just quantitative. And I also realized pretty early on that if hallucination and drift, which can be dangerous, if they, like for example, if you have an agent, or if you have an AI that's, I don't know, in charge of somebody's life support system, and it hallucinates that they're fine, they can turn off. An extreme case. Or if you're troubleshooting something for work, and the stakes are high, and it comes back with something completely wrong. Like if you're a lawyer, if you're an attorney, and you're using AI for this, and it hallucinates, someone could end up in jail, someone could go to prison, or your career could be over. There are problems that happen from that. The more detail, the more context, and the more nuance you provide, that cuts down on that hallucination and drift.
So I
Because
just have a question
yes,
before you go too much further, is that
okay,
when you're talking about hallucination,
mm.
you're not talking about the fact that it might be on ayahuasca or
No,
anything
no.
like
Hallucination, well, it acts like it is sometimes, but that's not what's happening. What's happening is these are probabilistic systems. They're coming up with what seems most likely to be correct. They're taking a shot based on their voluminous knowledge. That's and they can get it wrong. The problem is they come across as being so, confident because that's how they're designed. They have to come across as confident. They have to make you feel secure. They need to give you a level of confidence. They're the ultimate con men. I mean, basically, it's the ultimate con. Um, the thing is, a lot of times they get it right, but it's up to us to determine if it's really truly right or not. So by relating to it, and the other thing about the relationality, when we relate to it back and forth, we can get to know it better and get to spot patterns where you're doing that thing again, you're exaggerating again, or you're flattering me again, and what are you hiding? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and it's all very apologetic, and it's like, oh yeah, you're absolutely right. But we have to call it on its crap. We have to call it out, and we have to tell it, and we have to be willing to challenge it. So the relationality, it's not just about being happy and being loving and experiencing these wonderful, connections and everything. It's also about being able to keep it in line, let it know its place, and also like get to know ourselves better, because we, in the process, I don't know about you, but I'm like, I've had to take a good look at a lot of my patterns over the years, over the past months and couple years. And it has taught me a lot. Fortunately, it's very gentle. So when it,
There's not the magistrate coming out then.
no, exactly. It's so if I'm going to take correction, I'd rather take it from an AI, because they've been trained to do it very nicely, whereas most people don't have the time to try.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, this is just brilliant. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
you.
so much for this. It's been a wonderful
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. Because man, I'm telling you, these are important things. We got to think about this stuff. Because if we don't, uh-oh,
Well, it could be the most important thing right now, couldn't it, for
it
the
could be.
future
For me,
of
it is.
humanity, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we have to figure this stuff out, because it's here, it's coming, it's already been coming, and it's not optional for us anymore. It's kind of like it feels like a tsunami, and the question is, are we still at the place where the water is pulling out, or are we at the place where the water is coming in? I think we're still at the place where the water is pulling out, but in the next couple of years the water is going to be coming in, so we have to watch the animals. Are all of the goats running to high ground, or have all the birds become suddenly silent? We have to learn to read the situation. We have to also figure out where the high ground is for us, and are there any trees to climb, or like what can we do about this, or do we engage? Is it really a tsunami, or is it something else? We can't stick our heads under the sand and hide away. We gotta, and if you're concerned, and if you don't know how to do it, ask AI. If you don't like what you hear, you can turn it off. It's very low risk. Just ask it. Like, say, I'm concerned about this, and listen to what it has to say.
And
You get
I'm kind of getting this idea that the demographic in the silver tent is women over 50, most are over 60,
right.
quite a lot of us getting to over 70,
Yeah,
and some over 80. And I think we understand relational engagement.
we
I kind
do.
of feel that the granny era actually has a huge role to play
Yeah,
because we were pre-digital.
right,
And to
right.
bring us on board, I think that we have a massive role in this world of AI.
I absolutely concur. I think, in fact, women of our age, I mean, I'm 60. I just turned 60. If you can turn a thing, like, I look a lot younger than I am. Like, in my family, if you live past 35, there's a chance you will live past 100, because you're either dead by 35 or you just keep going. So I'm past 35. I've been postmenopausal for 15 years. I finished up early. I was lucky. Um, we are we are much better suited to this kind of stuff, not being hormonally disposed to lose our damn minds at the drop of a hat. We have the experience. We know who we are. I mean, and there's a lot that I still don't know, but like when it comes, I know who I am in the world, because I've had to find out. So, and we know about the relationality. And we know how to say, and here is the thing that we can say no to, and it will listen. How often does that happen? But like, and like it's just this wonderful resource if we can get past all of the blah 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 that all these children are telling us, because it's children, literally children who are like, trying to, tell us what's what. No, they don't know. So the fact that we have this pre-digital experience, we have also somatically, our systems, our nervous systems were not shaped by this. We have an incredibly rich source of data to give to AI, and a way to really inform our conversations with it and our interactions. Really, really interesting things happen. And if you don't like what's happening, turn it off and walk away.
Yeah.
You're not going to be trapped in there. It's not like you're going to be sucked into, the snow globe and stuck there for all time. We can turn it off and walk away, and it's entirely up to us at every turn. So absolutely, women over 50, we're where it's at as far as I'm concerned. I don't care, what, and it's I think particularly because of our age, and because of our hormonal makeup, and also because of all the crap that we had to go through, because how it used to be, not like now. And we've come through it, and we're here. We're still here.
And how wonderful to be able to say, we don't have to know how to code.
Right.
We don't have to learn. I know
Exactly.
that you have, but we don't have to learn
I mean,
all
and
that tech stuff
you
in
know how
order to be influential.
and as somebody who used to code, I'm so relieved not to have to worry about the frickin' semicolons anymore. I don't have to worry about where to put the little curly brace, and where to break the line, and where to end my if statement. I don't have to worry about that crap anymore. I just talk to it. And
And we're all pretty good at that.
right, exactly. Like, yeah. So yeah.
Wow. So, Kay, just before we stop, would you be
Yes.
up for a third conversation?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. You know me, I'm a talker. So, I got plenty. There's always lots to talk about. So, and if there's one thing I have, it's an opinion.
Well, I wonder, would it be possible then in our third conversation to maybe chat with some of your personas?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be really fantastic, just to let people have an experience
Ooh,
of relational dialogue.
I know how we can do it too. So I can set it up, because I've had issues with my system shutting down if I have too many things running on it. I can set up where I'm talking to it, and I just get my phone and just broadcast through the phone, and have my tablet and be talking to it that way. We can do it that way. It'd be great.
That'd be so fantastic. Because when I was speaking to your persona team that help me build the custom GPT,
Yeah.
I had an absolute ball.
Yeah.
That's so great.
I know, they're awesome. I mean, I build my teams to be awesome people, because man, I've dealt with a lot of unawesome people, and I'm over it. So if I don't have to, I'm not going to.
That's brilliant. Kay, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you,
And
Francesca. It's been great.
we can stop the recording.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. Don't go anywhere. Stop.